Welcome to IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Joe Cook. We got Justin Wells. We got Ian Boyd. Thank you for watching. Hey, make sure you like this video and you subscribe to the channel. And of course, we've got something for y'all to check out over the course of the next week. We are having a tailgate on the Friday of the Texas A&M game. Of the Texas A&M series in baseball of the Spring Fan Fest. We will have details on that, but we will have a giveaway presented by our friends at Academy. You can win a Blackstone griddle, a Yeti hard cooler, big old Texas flag canopy, which we know comes in handy in the state of Texas, some UT folding chairs, and a couple of Yeti tumblers. So we will have details forthcoming on that tailgate very, very soon. But make sure you stay tuned to Inside Texas to find out the latest on it when we have those details for Friday night finalized. No purchase necessary. You have to be present to win. You also have to be 18. But this is a great giveaway brought to you by our friends at Academy. And of course, if you have not gone to Inside Texas already and signed up, I don't know what you're waiting for, but we got something for you to encourage you to get over there. $1 will get you 4 months of access. It is April 17th. That means you can get all the way through August 17th. August 17th. That gets you basically all the way up to important points when depth charts are being figured out in fall camp, official visits, recruiting, portal, summer workouts, SEC media days, SEC spring meetings, everything. So $1 for 4 months. We'll have some discussion about some of the transfer portal targets for the Longhorns. But, guys, I think the news that we all just saw right before we jumped on here, Lee Corso retiring. Ian, Justin, I'll go with you first. Any big Corso memories from his decades with College Game Day?
Maybe a couple. I do remember sitting in the Rose Bowl for the 2005 game against USC and seeing him down there put on the head. And when he put on the Bevo head, there was something about that. Like when he did that at that moment, at that time, I think there was a collective breath in the stadium that just felt like, hey, Texas can do this. Like Corso just put on the Bevo head. Texas is going to do this. And then, of course, is pulling out a gun for the University of Houston and his, effort. Like that, to me, is just pure cinema. That's what television's all about, especially sports. That was always classic. The guy's been doing it forever, man. I remember Beano Cook. It was him and Lee Corso, like when this thing started back when I was, 8 or 9, 10 years old. And he'd been there forever, and he's got that pencil, number 2 pencil. He's going to point your face. And what's crazy is Corso was, he's so well-loved in the media. Like there's so many people in the sporting world that just absolutely love that guy for 100 reasons. And so I think it's nice that he's retiring. I think he's been semi-retired. You and I have been talking about this for a while. He's been making trips, but he's obviously hasn't been as sharp as he was over the past few years. And so always a pleasure getting to see Mr. Corso. And I'll always remember the Rose Bowl, and I'll remember that musket whenever he decided to say F it for the Houston Cougars.
Is there any truth to the rumor that he's planning a presidential run in 2028?
He's going to party. He's going to pair with Stephen A.
Oh.
One of them's going to be the president. The other one's going to be the VP, and it's going to be run on a plate of.
That's a great ticket. My favorite memory of Lee Corso is this radio interview he did once.
The what?
Where he was asked about being a college roommate of Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
And then they mentioned that Burt Reynolds had posed for like Playgirl magazine. And then he was talking about that. And then they started asking him if he had ever posed for that magazine. And he got really mad. Like he thought they were like teasing him or making fun of him. Like he's not a good looking guy or whatever. And he like stormed out of the interview. It's worth looking up. It's about as entertaining as many of his shenanigans on game day.
They said the week 1 will be his final week. They haven't announced game day yet. I know LSU and Clemson is the ABC game most likely. I would not be surprised. We've even reported that it's probably going to be a big noon Fox kickoff for Texas Ohio State. But ESPN sent game day to a Fox kickoff before they did for the Michigan game.
Arch's first start.
Arch's first start. And also there is the full circle aspect. The first headgear pick was Brutus way back. I guess that'd be in the mid-90s. I would not be shocked if Texas got to see and be one of Corso's final decisions. But we'll have
I should wheel him out in the Hannibal Lecter deal.
Oh, that would be glorious.
It'd be so good.
You know why he always uses the number 2 pencil, right?
Because he could never get a pen to work.
I think he actually has a business stake in Ticonderoga pencils. So that's why he's always got that Ticonderoga number 2 pencil. So Lee Corso, man, it's going to be
there too. Matt Patricia have a piece of that as well.
Maybe that's a connection. I'm just glad that he's going to get he's gotten a send off, several times. Every fan base that he goes and visits in these past couple of years always show him a ton of appreciation. It was really cool to see him go back to Indiana. But I'm just extremely happy that he's going to have the chance to hear all the thank yous and stuff like that. Because when you're that old, when you're approaching 90 like he is, you don't always get to do that. So really, really
he also
great.
Sounds a lot better now than he did like 3 or 4 years ago, when it was obvious he may not have been ready to be on television just yet, but ESPN kind of forced it. Hey, now he's actually you can completely understand what he's saying for the most part.
And they have the likely replacement the assured replacement almost in Nick Saban. So pretty easy transition there.
I bet you're going to say Pat McAfee.
No, he lives in his own lane, but going to be fun to say thank you to Lee Corso. And I think RT Young is going to write something up on that and find, in addition to the Rose Bowl game, his record picking Texas. But we are going to continue on talking about one of the top transfer portal targets for the Longhorns. Texas was pretty active in the first one, but left some roles and positions to be filled in the second portal window. There's been injury. There's just been a thin depth chart at tight end. And so, Ian, that's why Texas is reportedly, according to Pete Thamel, going to host Cal tight end Jack Endries on a visit in the coming days. And I think a good way to introduce Jack Endries, maybe to introduce a little bit your theory on tight end. I know you've talked about it a lot, but how might Jack Endries fit well with what Texas wants to do with Arch Manning?
Well, with Quinn Ewers, you really needed a good blocking tight end on the roster because Quinn Ewers cannot run quarterback keeper option plays regularly. And so you need 6 blockers for the 6 defenders teams are going to put in the box. If your quarterback can run option keepers every once in a while and keep the defense honest, then now you don't need your tight end to be able to block a defensive end. And it just really opens up your offense and makes it a lot easier to utilize a skilled tight end who's more of a receiver than a blocker. Well, they have Arch Manning now. They can get away with playing more of a receiver who's not a great blocker. And Jack Endries is actually reasonably skilled at everything, but he's more of a receiver than he is like a menacing blocker, to be sure. And so his skill set as a receiver, he's caught maybe 100 balls in the last 2 years combined, or just under 100 balls in the last 2 years. He's almost ideal for what Texas needs this year.
How close is he to my comp of Travis Kelce?
He's like a 4.9 or 4.8 Travis Kelce.
Okay. Probably dating somebody with a better musician too.
Oh, man. Well, Cal has seen a lot of their top players enter the portal in recent days. Oklahoma has made use of the Cal to Texas pipeline. Texas is going to try to do that. As you can tell, Ian, you wrote a little bit about his stats. Remember, this is a former walk-on, so that's an interesting tidbit to keep in mind on this one. Has grown to 6'4", 240. You call him wildly productive, but you highlight why Steve Sarkisian calls tight end probably the second most important position on the offense. But
yeah, Jeff Banks might make him say that.
Exactly. So let's go into some of what you saw from Jack Endry's skill set. Before we get going, what does the Cal offense look like these days? I know it's got Brian Harsin. What did it look like when Endry's was in it?
Oh, Brian Harsin is there?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a point of problem for Cal problems, and Nick Rolovich. We don't want to go too far in there, but if you know what those guys believe and what Cal alumni and supporters probably believe, that they probably go at each other a little bit. But yeah, Harsin is there now. What were they doing before though?
Oh, I was going to say that makes a lot of sense because it's remarkably similar to Sark. Almost every play that I've seen Texas use to get Jatavian Sanders or Gunnar Helm wide open in the last 2 years, almost every single one of them I saw on Jack Endry's film. So the plays where he pretends to block and then just releases down the field from different blocking schemes and alignments, those are all on his film. The wheel routes are on his film. He runs some stick routes if teams don't cover him, where it's technically an option route, but all it is he takes like 5 steps and turns around and catches it. He ran a couple play action slants. There was something else in the tight end. Some of the tight end screens that Sark has used really well in the last couple of years. Cal had some really similar ones in their playbook as well, including like the throwback tight end screen. So
Go ahead. I looked up. It was Mike Bloch. That was the offensive coordinator. I don't know where that was. If you saw any highlights,
in-state ties, Mike Bloch, if I remember correctly. I think he was a Houston guy.
Right, in North Texas, I think too.
Yeah.
Harsin was the coordinator in the bowl game. So if there are any bowl highlights in here, that will be a Harsin thing. Other things to note from Cal is that they had a pretty good quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, who's transferring to Indiana. They also had, when healthy, a pretty good running back in Jaden Ott, who we'll see in Crimson and Cream this upcoming season. But let's go ahead and look at some of the plays Endry's made for the Golden Bears. Do you know where he is on this one before I open it up?
He's going to catch the ball. Oh, he's on the bottom.
That's him lined up.
In the slot. Yep.
So up against the corner, wins, route run. I mean, hey, that's a first down or close to it right there. And that's just a quick slant on an RPO?
On play action.
Okay.
Yeah. I put that one in there because that one is a little more impressive because he was facing man coverage from, I think maybe a safety, but still man coverage from what looks like a defensive back. And he got to his spot and he caught the ball with bodies all around him. Somebody in the chat mentioned he caught, Blake Bryant says he had 56 catches on 61 targets last year, which I saw elsewhere. Don't think I'm good at math. A 91% catch rate on his targets. So he's just one of those big guys that's just like you're just like throwing into one of those like sticky mouse traps. Like the ball just sticks to him.
I mean, I see Tony Gonzalez. I don't know about y'all. I mean, I see Cal.
We'll keep going through Hall of Fame tight ends and find the right one that fits it. Here's another one of his plays. Looks like that's him lined up right there in a conference game against Wake Forest. It'll never be easy.
So weird.
And looks like he's just got this safety playing, 10 yards off against him. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you highlighted these because these are not easy plays.
Yeah, you got to be tough. to catch the ball in traffic like that. You have to be focused. You have to have good hands, and you have to have a little bit of agility and route running know-how to make sure you get to your spots and they don't just jam you up or knock you off your course or whatever. So
it's only fair that this guy goes to Texas. Arch Manning needs a Jack Indries. Quinn had a Jatavian Sanders and a Gunnar Helm. Arch needs one as well.
I want to say Indries is smaller. He's probably about Jatavian Sanders' size.
No, he's only 6'4", about 230, 240.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Jatavian was.
He's about the size of Jatavian
bigger than
Sanders.
That.
He's not quite as nifty or as big and strong as Gunnar Helm. But he's like I'm trying to think of a good – if David Thomas were less quick.
David Thomas wasn't that quick.
David Thomas was freaking always open. He knew how to get open.
He was always open. He was not that quick, but he was always open. You're right.
Good question. Why is Cal losing so many players? I think Paul Wadlington's talked about this. Get him out. They don't have the NIL money.
They don't care.
They don't care. It is something. It's not a way of life. It's something to do. And
it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Whereas everywhere else, it is a way of life. We'll keep going with what Indries offers, but first, real quick, a word from our sponsor, and that is Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Days like this, the anticipation's half the fun. The call to adventure. Possibilities in every direction. Look at that. The stories you'll bring back. Even the true ones. And already, you can't wait until next time. From first catch to biggest catch of the season, this is where it starts. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there.
Ian, this is kind of falls into line with what we were talking about. You won't see Indries torch people after the catch or execute elite level routes like a big receiver might, but he's reasonably quick and knows how to get open from the typical tight end alignments. But then you keep going. You got to do more than just be a pass catcher in Steve Sarkisian's offense. You got to be a blocker. He said, and this is always important to me. He's not an unwilling blocker, but he's not particularly strong and certainly not very skilled. And we're going to see a little bit of work on a staple tight end block, split zone, comes across formation, gets what? They leave an unblocked guy here, right, on split zone for him to get.
The backside end is unblocked, and it's his job to kind of root him out.
So this is against Auburn. I think they were really close in this game. And that's him right there, 87. I'm guessing that's his guy right above the play button. And we'll see what he does on the first and 10. And, he makes contact.
Puts a hat on him. You're not supposed to drive. You'd love to see him drive him 5 yards back. Just put a hat on him. Right. And that's also a pretty solid play from the defensive lineman to bounce and engage.
You see, he takes a running start so he can try to hit him as hard as he can.
And he bounces backwards.
He doesn't really he doesn't really win the exchange, and he doesn't stick to it.
Right.
It's kind of like a Hayden Connor block. A lot of Hayden Connor blocks looked like that, where he'd hit the guy.
Screener.
He'd hit the guy, but then the guy would get off of him, and that was that.
And that's the guy that ends up making the tackle too. So, you applaud the effort, but you want him to do better on the skill. And here he is again, coming across a formation. Let's see. There are a lot of guys in the box there. So if you just miss one, that clutters everything up. Let's watch what happens. Oh, yeah, that's not that good. But they had Jay Knott or whoever that is. Whoop!
That end was waiting for him. That's called a half shed.
Good thing the guy went the other way. But that's just to illustrate what the mixed bag that you might be getting if whatever team gets him from injuries, right?
When he blocks like a linebacker or somebody out in space, it's a lot better because he knows who to hit and he's quick enough to hit the right guy. But if you ask him to block somebody big and strong, it's just you're taking your life into your hands, basically.
You did touch on this. Ryan Nelson says PFF had him as a much better pass blocker on 88 pass block reps.
That's because on pass blocking, if you just get in the way, that's usually good enough.
Especially,
you can get in the way.
Especially from tight end where you make that rusher just take a longer route.
Yep.
And if you have a quarterback who's capable of stepping up a little bit or standing strong, like that's good for Fernando. He probably wanted to roll out there for that pass, and then he realized he couldn't because Andrews was given a pretty good block.
It's decent.
Did he false start? No, he didn't.
No. The right tackle may have jumped a little hair quicker.
If anything, he was a little late.
Here's another one of him, sniffer roll, kind of H-back.
Mm-hmm.
Helping the back.
Combo blocking. Look at that.
We got some help from the running back. But
I mean, honestly, this is what Texas fans want to know, Ian. How does he compare to the D3 tight end that OU signed?
He's a little better than that.
Okay.
Justin.
Chat.
He will also be utilized in a more smart way than they tried to use Bauer Sharp. They tried to make Bauer Sharp into a complete tight end, and that he's not. Whereas I think if Texas, if they get injuries, they're not going to ask him to be like, all right, buddy, it's time for you to go one-on-one with this, future top 50 draft pick. Like, if they do, it's because they got misaligned and the defense did some stuff to put him in that situation.
He'll need some help whenever they go to Georgia. Let's just put it that way.
I love this. Setting aside a pie-in-the-sky dream of discovering Gronk. That's our third tight end, Hall of Fame tight end comparison. Endry's is the ideal fit for Texas in 2025.
I see some Gronk in his game.
How many more? We got to get Kittle mentioned, and then I'm trying to think of who else is top. But
I mean, Kellen Winslow was going out next.
Oh,
who's
man.
that guy that? Who's that guy? I was going to compare him to the Chiefs' other tight end that nobody remembers the name of.
Jared Wiley.
No, the guy that was there before that. But he's not.
Tony Gonzalez, the one I said earlier.
No, the guy that's like on the roster right now with Kelsey.
Okay, Jared Wiley's on that roster, by the way.
Here,
he is
let's
now.
see.
God's sake, Justin.
I think you're talking about that guy that also plays fullback that's got like a Czechoslovakian name.
Noah Gray, Peyton Hendershot.
Noah Gray.
Okay.
Noah Gray.
Okay, that's not Noah Gray. It's not him.
Let's see.
He's similar to Noah Gray. He's probably not as good as Noah Gray.
Oh, man.
I think we blocked the most out.
You mentioned you got some of the traits that you think that someone like Endries or anybody a tight end in this offense needs. Like you mentioned, reliable or even dangerous receiver who can do damage when Texas frees up the tight end for easy blocking assignments and free releases. That's what Gunnar Helm lived off of. There were a few occasions where, they would draw up things for Helm, but he was rarely option one, I felt like, and he would still be able to make teams pay by being able to, do more with the ball in his hand. And then go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, David Williams already chimed in. He's put his foot in the sand, and now Chris Bennett's bringing up Antonio Gates.
Just for the record, Gronk is the best tight end of all time.
Unfortunately, that's probably true.
we spoke about the, what the tight end fit in this offense and blocking a defensive end and stuff like that. But how would he fit with Texas tight end room as it is right now with, looking at Jordan Washington, Spencer Shannon, things like that? Like, what type of role would he play maybe in tandem with somebody else from the tight end room?
He's going to be starting. If he comes to Texas, he is the starter immediately. He's basically what you'd hope that Jordan Washington would be this season. Jack Injuries is a sure thing of what you're hoping to get from Washington. So he would play that role. And then the next guy that you would play next to him would be, he could just play with Spencer Shannon. Shannon is more of just an inline blocker. And so you play Injuries in 11 personnel. If you're only using one tight end, it's Injuries. And then if you're in 2 tight end personnel, you want the other guy to be a good blocker, a better blocker than Injuries. And so that'd be Shannon or, Malik Agbo, 6th offensive lineman. Or if they go grab a big blocker in the portal, then that guy could potentially play. But Injuries is like your starter and your primary receiving tight end.
You would trust them in 11 personnel just as long as they shape the offense the right way with Arch and blocking with Arch.
They were going to do that anyway. So that's it. It makes him like the ideal fit because he's versatile and he can do a million different things. And his only weakness is something that you weren't planning on asking of your tight ends anyway.
Okay.
Like he's what you hope Amari Winston can be in a couple of years.
And it's like, it turns out
solid
blocker.
And Winston's been one of the more talked about players. Some of that has to do with Washington's injury, but Justin Winston's been someone that's drawn a significant amount of positive reviews over the course of spring.
He is, and it's a guy that, he came in, he might have been the least talked about signee from the 2025 cycle, at least of the early enrollees. And like you said, he's had an opportunity to flash, and he's using the most of it. The one thing this kid had that was undeniable was he was athletic. We didn't necessarily like his body type at the moment or, things of that sort, and he's not going to just wow you with skills. But the kid was a really good tight end. He was a really good basketball player. You see kind of that translate a little bit. It's his athleticism. It's his ability to do some different things. And I think that's kind of caught the attention of the Texas staff. I think Jeff Banks knew this, but that they understand it was going to be a longer curve with Winston. Now he's got an opportunity this spring to kind of show what he can do. This is a guy that might be on the field by 2026.
I think the competition for injuries includes Indiana. He was really, which is surprising for a kid from California. I think he was close with Fernando Mendoza, so that may be an aspect of it. I think Oklahoma is also involved in some respects. Our buddy George Soya included injuries in one of the things he was writing about for OU portal targets, but. So far, Justin, it's one of those things where the only reported visit, at least from Thamel and from On3's Pete Nakos, it's for Texas. And I feel like that comes as that's an important thing when you're thinking about stuff. If you want to lock these guys up on their visit, you always want to do that in recruiting, but especially in portal stuff. If you can make the match work in the limited window that you have, that works to everybody's favor, and it seems like that may be what Texas wants to do in the upcoming opportunity to meet with injuries.
Yeah, so whenever Texas brings in a kid from the portal and they want him, they usually get him. That's kind of the way that works. They usually do for the most part. And I think that's kind of the feeling here. You're going to get some other schools, like you said, in the mix they'll throw out some offers. They'll throw out some opportunities. But for a kid that used to be a walk-on to change his life, to play at the University of Texas, to catch balls for Arch Manning and Steve Sarkisian's offense, I mean, what else are you going to offer? There's not. It's only second place. There's nothing else that's going to be, comparable to what he's going to see in Austin. And so I think that's why a lot of these guys, when they do, similar to Emmett Mosley, once Emmett Mosley stepped on campus and Texas wanted him, he was going to Texas. That's just the way it works in the portal era right now. It's the way Sark's operating. And so with injuries, that's a guy, like Ian said, he comes in day one. That's your starter. He's the one that cements that. And honestly, I think Arch deserves him. I talked about this on the shows previously. He needs more toys. Quinn Ewers was showered with gifts. This kid had more toys than he knew what to do with in Austin for good reason, and he maximized it for the most part. Arch doesn't have the same amount of toys. He's been a good kid too. Santa Claus needs to come see Arch as well. Jack Injuries is a guy that would qualify as being in the stocking.
I worry a little bit because Indiana's investing a lot in football now. His bud at quarterback is there, and if they are spending in anticipation of revenue sharing, then all of a sudden they've got like an SEC type budget with the Big Ten Network money, the Big Ten TV money. So I mean, Texas can generally get a guy if they really want him. But if
I think Injuries is going to see the path to the field is way too enlightening in Austin. Like, to me, that's going to be the sales point.
Yeah, Texas has an amazing pitch. I'm just saying, if Indiana was like, "We'll pay you $2 million" or something crazy, then
only if Nick Nolte's playing Bobby Knight. But no, you make good. I mean, you're right. Indiana's they are reinvesting in basketball. I mean, football rather.
That's kind of my question though. Like, if you're Indiana, you just had your best football season ever, and you made the college football playoff. But you're also Indiana. You just hired a new basketball head coach. I don't know if
where's the funds going to come from.
Yeah, like, are you paying for the star power forward, or are you paying for the tight end? And at Texas, that question can be answered like that. I don't know if it's the same in Bloomington, especially now with that new head coach probably asking for a lot to rebuild the Hoosier basketball program. But that's a whole.
And plus, they just had, like you said, in football, Kirk Cignetti, they just had a great season. They'd like to maintain that, but then they're going to learn what the cost of maintaining that is. And does that line up with everything they want to do in addition to basketball now coming to the well?
They extended him after the year for $8 million a year. So
right, but a third of James Madison's roster is not going to wind back up on this campus.
That's what I'm thinking too. Like, Cignetti built a great team at James Madison, and he used a lot of the best players from that team to come into a mediocre Big Ten roster
for peanut.
And they leveraged that against an extremely weak schedule to make the most of a great season. Is Cignetti's portal scouting capability going to be what keeps him up? Because you found the diamonds in the rough at James Madison, and they came with you to Bloomington. Are you going to keep finding diamonds in the rough? And not to say that this guy's a diamond in the rough. I feel like he's been unearthed. He was a diamond in the rough in high school when he walked on to Cal, but now people know about him. I think he was PFF's number 2 or number 1 returning tight end in 2025 or something like that.
Dang.
So, yeah. Like,
how is that George Kittle's comp starting to look pretty good?
How is Kurt Cignetti going to battle Steve Sarkisian when it comes to these players that people know about?
It's like battling Jeff Banks, and I don't want to fight Jeff Banks over a recruit. Exactly. You're going to lose that battle.
They did get Mendoza, who threw for 3,000 yards last year, and they did get that Notre Dame offensive lineman that on 3 as we have ranked as a 95 as a transfer ranking. So it's not. I mean, it's not just normal.
South Bend and Bloomington aren't that far of a drive.
No, not at all. And so, and I like this from David Key Williams to bring it back a little bit to injuries. Luke had
laws in 7-on-7.
Yeah, went from Oklahoma, went to Arkansas, freshman All-American, 16 for 253, and as a true freshman, injuries caught 35 for 408.
Great stat. Brought to you by Big Red.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be a really good player for the Razorbacks still. I mean, he may be one of their
Did he
few.
transfer to Arkansas?
No, he went there from the start. He missed.
He did go from the start. For some reason, I thought he started at Oklahoma and transferred one year. But
He's just from Oklahoma.
Right.
I don't know who you're thinking of, but I know there is somebody familiar like that. But if Texas can get some production, kind of like what they got out of, if Texas can get similar production, who knows? So that'd be great to see. Before we keep going, got to show some love to our other sponsor, that is Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
We've kind of got a smorgasbord of things to talk about. We'll get to some more portal stuff in a second, but Justin, something right up your alley was announced yesterday in that Arch Manning signed another big agreement with Panini. That seemed to be his first NIL deal way back when. Sold the card, his one of the handful of cards as part of an exclusive deal. And now he's doing some more as far as memorabilia goes with Panini.
Yeah, so basically, I think it was they picked up an option on him after having him for that first year, which was more an extension of the next 2 years. And so he's signing helmets, jerseys, posters, everything you can imagine. And the thing with Arch, too, is, Panini is a company that is losing its licensing in the NFL in 2026, which is going to be a big hit for them. And Topps is picking it up. And I think that's significant in the world because, Panini still has the options with like Patrick Mahomes and the Kobe Bryant estate and stuff like that. And so it looks like they're more of a memorabilia sale than they are in the card game, but they're definitely still in the card game. And Arch Manning's right now, he's one of the most valuable in memorabilia. It's unbelievable how expensive his stuff is going for right now. And if you think it's expensive on the website of Panini, go on eBay. It's more. And that's just, there's such a demand for it right now. And so Arch is he's getting a little coin. He's getting a little coin. Probably the same. Yeah, he's getting a little coin for his autographs and stuff. All I'll say is I hope he is still signing at the Fan Fest in 2 weeks. I hope John Bianco doesn't tell us, well, Arch Manning can't sign because of an exclusive deal, because he did last year. So I anticipate him to do it this year. But I've got buddies that have been asking me, is he going to be signing at Fan Fest? And so that is something that I'm actually looking into right now. But he's notched it with Panini. It's a great deal for him. I kind of wish he would have done it with Topps because Panini's probably the worst when it comes to just business, just customer service, things of that sort. But Arch Manning's got some really cool stuff coming out. Unbelievably cool stuff. If you got it, show us at InsideTexas.com because it's kind of fun to collect his stuff.
We got to bump that card thread at some point. I think for the fan signing day thing, you can they will only sign what
the poster
they have. Yeah,
they give you a poster to sign.
Yeah, which I get. They don't want as.
I guarantee you'll see a handful of those posters on eBay within an hour.
Yeah,
those things are going for over $1,000.
Breaking news: Justin hates Panini.
Hey, listen, anybody in the hobby hates Panini. It is the worst company in the world when it comes to sports memorabilia. That's why they're losing licensing. They are absolutely terrible at their jobs. But everybody in the hobby would tell you that. So as long as your check cashes, I don't think Arch minds.
Got a good question here to get back to a little bit of portal stuff from Chris Bennett. Will the Texas State kicker commit? We're hitting all our areas of expertise. We got the Liberty Hill aspect of it for Mason Shipley. I did a little bit of specialist stuff back in high school, so I'm always interested in that. I think we can start with why Texas is even in the conversation for Shipley. It's because there's Bert Auburn proved to become unreliable at the end of last year, and Will Stone is a huge unknown as far as game situations. I know that they try to make sure that practice is as similar to games as they can be for any football program. You can do that if you're a running back running inside zone against a front seven. You can do that if you're a wide receiver, running routes against a press man corner. There's nothing like that for kickers. I don't care what coaches try to do. All right, it's the last second. It's the Super Bowl's on the line, blah, blah, blah. You can't replicate the in-game thing. And at the end of the season, for one reason or another, Bert Auburn just wasn't there. And we had known at Inside Texas that there's a likelihood that this would not be something Steve Sarkisian left to chance. And so, Justin, it kind of looks like it looks like Texas is in a prime position to get somebody who has a connection not just to Jason McIndoe, but also a local kid who is a pretty good kicker too.
Yeah, and he's got the opportunity. He could show up as an enrollee and it not be him, but it looked just like him because he's got a twin brother that also kicks field goals for a living. And so, yeah.
You want the good one. You want the better one.
You want the one that was nails at Texas State last year. We're talking about Mason Shipley. And, a Shipley at Texas, does it get any more nostalgic? I don't think so. The only thing that would be better than that is putting him in a dorm room with Colt McCoy's cousin, Rufus McCoy. Mason Shipley is needed. Simple as that. Bert Auburn, we know what's there. You said it just right, Joe. I don't think Sark was going to leave 2025 to chance with the kicking game. And so Mason Shipley checks every single box you can imagine. How on the come up at San Marcos now he gets a chance. And I'm curious what Ian thinks because he's our Liberty Hill analyst through and through. And so they've got some kickers coming out of the Hill country.
Yeah, this next one will be the third big time college kicker in a row or something like that.
Is your soccer program pretty good?
The soccer program just was awarded the state championship.
See, those I don't know if you notice, Ian, but those go together.
They lost
this is great.
They lost the final to Highland Park.
Oh, is this the one with the okay.
And then the kid was, maybe y'all might know this story better than I do.
Yeah.
But the Highland Park played an ineligible player, so they were stripped of the title, and it was awarded to Liberty Hill.
Literally the same night that it happened.
Okay, if you're
this all happened within a span of 12 hours.
Do you take that?
Of course.
So it's that black and white. Usually, hey, we'll take it. We didn't earn it, but we'll take it.
You raised the banner, but you also know how it got there.
Right. I think you raised the banner. I think you're right. You have to do that. But
in 5 years, it's just a banner and a trophy.
Okay, Brian Scalabrine.
What?
Have you ever heard that? The Brian Scalabrine story is in 10 years, I'll say I averaged 8-5. In 20 years, I'll say I was a starter. And in 30 years, I'll tell people I was the reason the Celtics won the title.
He's awesome. Y'all seen the deal where he challenges just anybody to come play him one-on-one, and he'd have guys line up to play him one-on-one. And he had this banner that was I'm closer to LeBron James than you are to me. So all these guys would be Brian Scalabrine sucks. I'll take him one-on-one. And he would just play him one at a time and just destroy all of them.
That's awesome.
Because he's an NBA basketball player.
Yes.
Yeah. He always looks slow and unskilled next to NBA guys. When you put him next to people like us, he looks like a golden god who descended from the pantheon to destroy people.
And similar applies. Take the most frustrating Texas basketball player ever. At our best, they would wipe the floor with us. Handles, shot, everything.
I'm gonna let you speak for yourself on that one.
It just kind of proves how
because I'm not submitting to anybody. I used to play with Chico Vasquez and Chris Mim and those guys. I'm not giving that up. I'll give up what Ian said, but I'm not giving up the college level part of it. I still have a little bit of confidence in a dream.
So we know that Texas has Emmett Mosley. We know Texas has eyes on Jack Endries. They have eyes on a kicker, obviously. Justin, it seems like they also need to add at some other positions, and there may be a development at defensive tackle. What's the latest on how if they're looking for a fourth defensive tackle in the portal?
They are looking for a fourth defensive tackle, but they're looking for a particular fourth, and not necessarily one player, but a fit. They really like the three guys they brought in. They really do. And we talked about before this portal stuff started in the winter, they're going to look for at least three in this cycle. They nailed those guys pretty early, too. They still are looking for one more just in case. They understand that depth is paramount in 2025. If you're going to make a run in the college football playoff, you need to have some fresh bodies. To do that, you're going to need to have that rotation, that assembly line style that they've had on the defensive front for the last 5-6 years almost. So Laven Johnson, a University of Maryland product, they've been in contact with him. He hasn't set up a visit yet, to my knowledge, but they're kicking the tires on this kid. He's also talking to Ian's new school. They're talking to Indiana. He's talking to A&M, Rutgers, Virginia Tech, Chapel Bill is in the mix. Oklahoma, of course, because Oklahoma needs everyone. They're in the mix as well. And so I think Mississippi State's throwing out a line to see what they can do. Not a bad player, actually. I believe he was like a 2-year starter at Maryland. Pretty big kid, too. They're kicking the tires to see what's there. Texas wants another defensive lineman from the portal, but I think they're going to be very picky on who that is. Laven Johnson is a guy they are considering.
I'm trying to look through On3's transfer portal database is one of the best. And yes. I'm trying to look through defensive linemen that are available or any that just popped in, because I think one thing that we've learned when it comes to this spring portal window is that it is obviously decreased in importance because so many different programs have figured out we got to keep our guys. And in the months between the winter window and the spring window, most of them figure out how to keep their guys. So that's why, the Nico situation is what it is. And that's its own thing because they went to the well one too many times. Most of the time, everybody has an agreement on how the well works by this point, unless they know that they're going to be without playing time or without an option, or if they know that it's just, they need to go somewhere else. And just looking through some of the there are not a lot of the defensive tackle is always going to be in demand, Ian. It's just that position is going to be in demand, and quarterback by its high profile nature is always going to be one that's difficult to find great players for.
Yeah. They like apparently Justice Terry and Alex January. Although the report Eric had on Justice Terry was watch out for him in the fall, which is great, but it implies that right now he would not play. Or that he's
that's not a bad thing either, Texas.
That's not terrible. That's not terrible.
Not at all. Not at all. He's 17 years old.
Let's say I think Cole Brevard, you can play that guy and win games.
Yes.
You're good. Hero Canoe, I think you can have a role for him and win games, and you're good. And then it sounds like Alex January is at that level. And then you got Travis Shaw, who I think should be at that level, but has
Shaw has the most upside.
But he has the knee thing, and he's 350. So chronic, I don't know about chronic, but recurring knee issues and 350 pounds is not a good combination. I don't feel good about that. Seems like maybe the staff doesn't feel that good about that either. Just to get to last year's point where you have or you just have a functional two deep and you can rotate and keep guys fresh. Are they there yet? Seems like it's borderline right now. And it's if they could add Justice Terry to that mix in the fall, then maybe.
It feels like they know that they've got 3 and they've got a lot of candidates for 4.
Mhm.
And one of those candidates also includes unnamed portal option as well.
Yeah.
So they're throwing numbers at the issue. And Eric's report, one that he posted this morning, you can find it on Inside Texas. Melvin Hill's got a mention. And that was a little bit of a surprise because we haven't heard much about him. He spent last year redshirting. Eric said he's doing pretty good. The source told him he's doing pretty good size, good motor, solid athlete, could become a player, probably needs another year. So you're at this time, you're trying to find from a variety of options that 4th defensive tackle. And Justin, maybe it's this Maryland guy. Maybe it is Melvin Hills leaping over the summer.
Maybe it's Josiah Sharma.
Maybe it's Josiah Sharma. Maybe it's Justice Terry. Like you can't say that they're not trying to address the problem, but they just have to figure out the correct solution.
They understand. If anyone understands this problem, it's Texas. They're the ones that have been solving this. Like I said, for the last 5 or 6 years, D-line play has never been an issue in Austin for the in the past, and so I think that's why we knew the number might be 4 anyway. And if Shaw's got some lingering issues, they're going to be smart about this stuff. You cannot go through another SEC schedule with only a handful of your stout defensive linemen. You need as many as possible. And Kenny Baker understands that. Pete Kwiatkowski understands that. Sark knows that. And so they're going to keep kicking tires on these guys. Remember last year, 2 of the best defensive linemen in the portal came in the spring window. And so you never know who could pop up in there. You never know what situation arises. After watching what's happened with Nico, I'm about to leave Knoxville. It's like you don't know. Anything can happen in the recruiting world in college right now. And so they just want to be certain. And they love the development of these young guys. Look, Kenny Baker brought in some really good, talented dudes. And January is really coming along. But it's just better to be safe than sorry. You need depth. Go ahead and get you another guy, especially if you can get him at the right price. And especially if he understands you're going to be a rotational guy. You're not necessarily coming here to start. You're coming to just get action.
Go to some comments. Defensive tackle and nose tackle may be the toughest position for true freshmen to make an impact. So I understand Texas going after more portal transfers. What's the old saying? The closer to the ball you are, the harder it is to see the field early. But it's one of those things where Justice Terry has unique athleticism, unique strength, viral strength. I think he was like, is this guy an 8th grader? He was one of those kids who had that picture taken of him a few years ago. He's got such a frame that it looks impressive. But then Ryan Nelson brings up a good point. High upside guy, played single A Georgia ball, 5-star like Colin, but played in a very different level of high school. Justin, you got to see Manchester, Georgia for yourself. Does all that check out?
Yeah, they're very small. There might be 300 people in that high school. The head basketball coach is also the head football coach, who's also the assistant principal. And Justice Terry, he comes from a small town. Like, it's a grass field. You don't see many of those football fields anymore on Friday nights. He plays at a grass field. Yeah, he comes from a small competition. And remember, he didn't play all of his senior year either. And so there's development with no matter how talented these guys that come in are, they've got to get adjusted to the speed of the game, especially the standard at Texas now. And it's different now than it was 4 or 5 years ago. So it's more there's more pressure there now. And so Justice is going to be just fine. But yeah, he's playing the equivalent of like 2A ball in Texas. It takes a little time for those guys, no matter how big, strong, and fast and athletic he is.
You mentioning 2A ball, just image popped into my mind of Justice Terry playing for Mart. Could you imagine?
It'd be like Leonard Davis playing for Wortham.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look right. It stood out. Yes.
It looked like
be
you ever
hilarious.
seen the South Park Imagination Land where Man Bear Pig comes out of a portal and just starts like ripping guys' heads off and throwing? I think that's what it would look like if Justice Terry played at that level of Texas ball.
That was a great 3-part series.
That was great.
Wasn't it the one with the woodland creatures?
They're in it.
Oh gosh, they went. I'm gonna tell you something, Ian. They went over the line.
Yeah,
There's a boundary in our lives, brother, and they crossed it in that episode.
That was when South Park was knowing how to toe the line and cross it. But
yeah, they're still
man. All right.
Jesse Plemons played football at Mart with Quan Cosby. We don't know if it's with Quan, but I didn't know that. What was his name on Breaking Bad?
Pinkman.
No. It's the other guy. It's the guy that was on Friday Night Lights. He's a new up and coming actor. He's in a lot of stuff. That's Jesse Plemons. Not you're thinking of Jesse at Breaking Bad. That's
okay.
This guy was on Breaking Bad too, but he's also been on other episodes. He's been on Friday Night Lights. He's on some other stuff. He's kind of an up and coming. He does commercials now, a lot of national stuff. He's kind of an up and coming actor. I knew he was from I knew he was from Texas, but I'd forgotten he played at Mart.
Man, funny things you can find in high school football. Ian, y'all got the deep dive coming out later today. What are some of the topics that y'all hit on?
Well, we put a Q&A on the board to solicit questions from readers. So everybody should go in there and get your question in quick, because Paul's already copy-pasting the ones he likes best for us to tackle this afternoon. Or just, I think, no, it's not going to be live. Get them in on the board as quick as you can before we submit what we're going to talk about.
And if you want to head to the board, you got to go to Inside Texas, sign up. You can get 4 months for just $1. I think that thread is pinned right now. 4 months for $1 gets you all the way through August 17th. So you got the rest of spring, visits, decisions, summer conditioning, SEC media days, SEC spring meetings, all the different things, including fall camp practices. So a lot of stuff going on, including our Inside Texas tailgate giveaway.
I got to get one of these, man.
Which one? There's a lot on the screen right
there. The whole thing. But really, I need the grill.
The griddle is something special. Blackstone 28-inch omnivore griddle, Yeti 32 hard cooler, a 10x10 Texas flag canopy, UT folding chairs, and 2 tumblers from Yeti. No purchase necessary to enter the win. 1 entry per person. Got to be at the Inside Texas tailgate on the Friday of the Texas A&M series. We will have more information forthcoming. We're finalizing details on the location of that, and we will share that on this channel. So we will make sure that everybody knows where to go to watch the Longhorns and the Aggies in their first series in some time. So should be a lot of fun. Justin, Ian, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all for watching, and we will see you next time on Inside Texas Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.